Hello everyone who is watching me right now. In this opportunity, I'm going to present the final exam corresponding to the subject that is Linguistic Foundations in English. So, let's learn an interesting topic that is second language acquisition and learning. There are different distinctions between learning a second language and a second language setting. So, probably we don't know the differences between acquisition and learning, and in this moment we are going to identify those terms. Acquisition is the gradual development of ability in a language by using it naturally in communicative situations, and learning is a more conscious process of accumulating knowledge of the future, such as vocabulary and grammar. Take into account those terms. We have acquisition barriers. At the moment, the student is learning a new language, and the optimum age for learning may be during the years from about 10 to 16, but the teenagers are typically much more self-conscious than younger children. It's important to take into consideration this information in order to apply different methodologies that are useful for children and for teenagers. Then we have affecting factors, negative feelings or experiences, unpleasant classroom surroundings or an exhausting schedule of study and for work. This is an implication that a student can acquire and learn a language. And if the students are stressed, uncomfortable, self-conscious, or unmotivated, they are unlikely to learn very much. So it's important to take care in this part in order the students can have a relaxing environment and then can acquire the language accurately. Then we have the way we can apply methods. As number one, we have the grammar translation method. That is the most traditional approach. The target of learning is memorization written language rather than spoken language. It's not focused on how language might be used in everyday conversations and situations. For example, we have in this picture the apple, and we translate into the Spanish meaning, that is la manzana. So we are just focused in learning the meaning of words, how the structures are using in English, and those things, but we don't apply this knowledge to have a normal conversation with others. And then we have the audiolingual method. This is focused in the spoken language and in the forms of drills that the student has to repeat, and much of this practice involves hours spent in a language laboratory repeating oral drills. As we can see in this picture, repeat after me. Probably we know this sentence in the classroom. This is about repeat, 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 and repeat until we have the correct way to say a word. And then we have communicative approaches. This is the reaction against the artificiality of pattern practice. Classroom lessons are likely to be more organized around concepts such as asking for things, as we can see in the image. We have what I did in my holidays. The students are free to expose their thoughts, their ideas, and different things that are related to everyday situations. But what about the learner? The learner and the acquisition process. This is about toleration of errors produced by the students. As we have in transfer, this is using sounds, expression, or structure from L1 when performing in L2. We have positive transfer, that is transferring an L1 feature that is really different from the L2. And negative transfer, L2 expression difficult to understand. This is about the student move from L1 to L2, and probably they can have different errors when they produce different expressions in English or the way they are learning. And then we have interlanguage. The language produced by L2 learners contains a large number of errors that seem to have no connection to the form or either the L1 or L2. And then we have the term fossilization, that is not to be progressing any further. Their interlanguage is said to have fossilized. For example, the student has an incorrect way to pronounce a word. So if he or she doesn't practice, probably the student is going to have the same error. And this is the way she or he is fossilized. And then we have the motivation, that is an important thing we can consider. The instrumental motivation and integrative motivation. And in the instrumental motivation, the students want to achieve some other goal, completing a school graduation requirement. And in the integrative motivation, learn L2 for social purposes, become an accepted member of the community. It's important to take into consideration in order to apply different alternatives to learn better a language. And then we have input and output, that is input by being simpler in structure and vocabulary for a native talk, and output tasks and activities in which learners have to interact with each other, usually in small groups or pairs, to exchange information or solve problems. For example, task-based learning. This is more complex than input. This is uh, less complex. The way the student uh, has a performance in the language. And finally, we have the development of competences. When we acquire a language, we develop different competences that are grammatical competences, that is the accurate use of words and structures, communicative competences, the general ability to use language accurately, appropriately, and flexibly. And then we have social linguistic competence, that is to know when to say, can I have some water, versus give me some water, according to the context. The student is able to identify the context in this way. And finally, the strategic competence, that is the ability to organize a message effectively. So, as a conclusion, to sum up, it's important to understand the way a second language is acquired by considering the implication the person could have to find different alternatives to comprehend better the language. And it's necessary to identify the different methodologies that are appropriate to the students in order to develop the communicative competences needed in a second language acquisition. For those reasons, it's important to know the way we can apply different alternatives to assist the students in order they acquire adequately and accurately the language and develop different competences in order to be a successful for a successful student that learned and acquired a second language. So this is all for now. We have the bibliographical references, and thanks for watching. Thank you. Bye bye.